Everybody, Ryan Michael Ballo here to do another review on a nootropic compound, really just a stack that I didn't think I would ever review, that I took this morning kind of randomly thinking, hey, this might be interesting, and it's been pretty impressive so far. Here's what we did. We stacked Cortex Gen 1, 610 milligrams worth of material of uridine monophosphate, CDP, choline, bacopa monnieri, and artichoke extract with Aniracetam. 700 milligrams of Aniracetam. So we've got 610 milligrams of the Cortex stack. The specific ingredients and the quantities are not being divulged quite yet. Probably going to launch that and disclose that probably somewhere around when Gen 2 launches, which might be sometime in the summer of 2016. And 700 milligrams of Aniracetam. Cortex Gen 1 serving size is 2 capsules, which equals 610 milligrams of 305 capsules per 305 milligrams per capsule. And Aniracetam, we're taking 700 milligrams of Aniracetam. So let's talk about the mechanisms of both of these things and then talk about why they might synergize. And then I'm going to talk about my experience because I got to tell you, I am wired in. This is interesting. Okay, so Cortex Gen 1 has always fascinated me. The ingredients have always fascinated me in the production process, really in the formulation process, because I started taking uridine monophosphate and CDP choline by itself in specific dosages. I was somewhere around 120 milligrams of uridine monophosphate and 55 milligrams of CDP choline. And I noticed that was by far, bar none, the best nootropic I've ever taken. Just that alone. And to me, there was something to be said for it. So I did the research and tried to figure out exactly what was going on. And it turns out there's all these interesting mechanisms. Uridine monophosphate and CDP help create phosphatidylcholine in the brain. Uridine monophosphate aids in synaptic functioning. Uridine monophosphate facilitates the production of nerve growth factor, a protein in the brain that helps essentially spawn new neurons, a process called neurogenesis. The combination of the two work together to create more acetylcholine. So there's this powerful synergy of a bunch of different mechanisms that ultimately make the brain work better. Not to mention uridine repairs dopamine receptors. It stimulates the release of dopamine. Very, very interesting combination that's both cholinergic and dopaminergic. That caught my eye quite some time ago in the beginning of the formulation of Cortex. Adding in bacopa monnieri, which is an adaptogen which helps you deal with stress, for a lot of people takes, a lot of the beta testers and a lot of people takes the stimulant effect, which comes from CDP choline and uridine monophosphate, because it does produce a stimulant effect in addition to just improving your brain, down slightly to a place where it's more manageable and you're more calm and you're more able to just sort of enjoy and work hard with the capacity to focus, which is very interesting. Artichoke extract is an interesting compound because of its PDE4 inhibition properties. It's almost like acetylcholine esterase inhibitors, which inhibit acetylcholine esterase, that enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine in your brain so that you have more acetylcholine when using an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. Same thing with PDE4 inhibitors, except for there's just different terms and different compounds that it breaks down. The PDE4 inhibitor inhibits PDE4 so that you can have more cyclic adenosine monophosphate in your brain, or CAMP is kind of the acronym for that, which facilitates LTP, long-term potentiation, which improves brain performance. So there was a big difference in uridine and CDP by themselves, and then uridine and CDP with a very, very small bit of artichoke extract and a good amount of bacopa monnieri. That's why I put it all together. Like, there is a difference there. So I'm not really admittedly, I'm not really sure on exactly how the artichoke extract facilitates the improvement of the cholinergic system, but it seems to work in that manner. That's a potential mechanism here. But if nothing else, the PDE4 inhibition seems to take place in small dosages because there's not a whole lot of artichoke extract whatsoever in this stack. And that's pretty interesting. So that's the mechanism behind Cortex. Very synergistic stack together. One of my favorite nootropics. And the beta testers love it, and now customers that it's launched that have tried it all have positive reviews about it. Aniracetam. We're going to go directly to the examine.com explanation of Aniracetam, just to kind of just throw the first couple lines out so we can explain exactly what Aniracetam does. So we're not really positing any theories here. Aniracetam acts as a positive modulator of some excitatory receptors known as AMPA receptors. A lot of people that take Aniracetam understand that, and decreases the rate of receptor desensitization. This typically manifests as a controlled and prolonged neurological stimulation effect, and that's kind of true. It's just a stimulant, but not in the way that coffee or yerba mate is. Very, very different, very, very holistic, and very, very controllable. Since AMPA receptors differ in structure across the brain, different AMPA modulators affect the brain in different ways. Anecdotally, Aniracetam has been known to aid in collective and holistic thinking, or putting the pieces of a puzzle together. That's one of the things that people that take Aniracetam always talk about. That's exactly the case. It increases blood flow and activity in the area of the brain known for this function, the association cortex. Kind of like ginkgo biloba and other vasodilators, I think you say, because they improve oxygen and blood flow to the brain. So that's the mechanisms. I put this stuff together. A serving of Cortex is 2 capsules and 700 milligrams of Aniracetam. And within I normally feel the onset of most nootropics within 30 minutes if an onset's going to be created. If the onset's going to be noticeable. And with this stack, I felt it in like 25 minutes. As it's kind of worked up, I started to feel like, okay, my processing speed is improving. My focus is starting to like narrow so that if I were to engage in a task, I can just lock onto it. And that's typically what happens when you take Cortex Gen 1, by itself. It's very much so a work stack, a workhorse stack, a focus stack. But then what was interesting is that Aniracetam, because you can do a lot more of this holistic thinking and a lot more of this kind of creative, putting the pieces together kind of stuff. Aniracetam kind of makes me, I have the capacity to focus when I'm on Aniracetam, but I also want to look at a puzzle and put it together, just like it says, like what it does. I want to look at multiple components of something and try to figure them out. So the Aniracetam made me detract a little bit from the capacity or the inclination to focus, but I still could focus and still wanted to focus, but I wanted to focus on more than one thing. I didn't want to be myopic with my task. I wanted to just engage in a bunch of stuff that all was related. So at the time I was like installing Google Analytics for a website and kind of testing it and going back and forth and looking at the real-time data, and it was just super easy to put it all together, and simultaneously like I was working on something else. Switching back and forth from responding to some people on Twitter and dealing with some positive reviews on the product on Facebook, and working on that other stuff. So man, here we are. It's about 2 hours after I took the combination, and I'm still exactly wired in. My verbal fluency is improved because Cortex tends to do that for like basically everybody. And Aniracetam to some degree does that to me, to some degree, but not to a substantial degree. But putting them together, I just feel like it's super easy to reach for anything. If I were to try to access my vocabulary, that'd be easy. If I were to sit and have a debate with somebody, that'd be easy. If I were to try to explain the mechanism behind Cortex or whatever, that'd be easy. It's just like everything seems accessible. Basically, every facet of my brain function is working pretty incredibly. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last, because for me and for a lot of people, Aniracetam kind of tends to taper off after 2 hours, 3 hours or so. Cortex lasts between 4 and 8 hours, depending on if you slept well and you eat well, and depending on your brain chemistry and depending on the day. And so I'll probably have the benefits from Cortex Gen 1 for quite some time. But as it says, Aniracetam is using up extra choline to do its thing. So Aniracetam really might be using up my stores of acetylcholine, and thus it might make Cortex Gen 1 not last as long, whereas it normally lasts 4 to 8 hours. 4 to 8 hours, not 48 hours. But we'll see. I think this is an interesting combination. I would definitely try it again, and I would go into it knowing, like, if I want to go and engage in some creative, holistic thinking where I've got a bunch of stuff I got to focus on, but it all sort of relates in some way, this, my friends, is the ultimate stack. Cortex Gen 1 serving, 700 milligrams of Aniracetam. Somebody name the stack. Name the stack. Let's think of a name for the stack. Put it in the comment section. What do you think? Otherwise, if you haven't tried Cortex by itself, pick up a bottle. It's $38.95. I explained the mechanisms in the beginning, so this is a very solid stack. I spent a long time formulating this. It's my go-to stack for focus. It is a workhorse stack. It's the kind of stack that if you want to sit down for 4 hours and do work and get it done without being distracted, this is the stack to take. It also improves verbal fluency and memory and just overall kind of holistic thing. Very interesting stack. You can get this right on the website at livecortex.com. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. If you've come up with any interesting stacks recently through experimentation, please share them in the comment section. If you loved what you saw here, please share it on Twitter, share it on YouTube, like it, subscribe to the video, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube if you're on YouTube, and hit us up on Twitter at livecortex, or you can hit me up also at rmichaelballo. I love to interact with people. You could also send us an email at inquiries@livecortex.com if you have any questions about Cortex, or if you just want to chat it up. Talk to you later.